Good day, Bermuda. This is Chris Famous, here for another episode of Bermuda Voices. And I'm here today with the president of the BPSU, Mr. Jason Hayward. Thank you for being here, Mr. Hayward. And just tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, first and foremost, thank you, Brother Chris, for having me.
Yeah.
A little bit about myself. I'm the president of the BPSU. I was installed in March of this year. I'll be the president for the next 3 years, as the term for the presidency is 3-year terms.
Is that a minimum of 3 years, or can it be extended?
The terms are unlimited, but every triennial we have elections. So after the 3-year period, if I choose to run again, I would have to go through an election process.
Okay. So what, in a time like this when many young persons such as yourself are focusing on themselves alone, what led you to be involved in the union, and when did you start to get involved in the union?
Well, I've always had the want and need to help others. And understanding that the injustices and things that happen in the workplace, I said to myself, it was only natural that I moved into the union, where it's a natural role, as coming from a shop steward where I was helping individuals in my department, and then climbing the ranks to the union. The more and more I learned about trade unionism, the more and more I got attached to it, and my passion for it grew. As a result, it was a point in time that came where I felt that I was willing and able to take on the role of the president of the organization, and I put my name forward. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was uncontested, but it is what it is, and I'm now the president of the union.
So in totality, how many years have you been involved in the union, from not say shop steward up to where you are now?
Well, I entered the civil service, and this would be going on my 11th year. So for 9 years now, I've been actively involved in the union.
Okay. And have you seen the union go stronger or remain the same in the 9 years that you've been there?
It depends on the way you look at it. In terms of membership size, we've remained relatively static. In terms of our membership hasn't grown much. In terms of involvement, we've seen more and more, I would say, younger individuals become more involved in the union. But it's one of those things that the union size depends on the movement of the employment. So when workers retire, if they're not replaced, then the union begins to shrink. When workers come into unionized environments, they automatically become union members, and the union grows again. But what we have to do better as an organization is, in terms of new organizing, getting ununionized workers to become unionized workers, and through that method, that's when you will see the union actually grow. In terms of impact and significance, I believe that the BPSU has always been a critical stakeholder in the community, and it has remained a critical stakeholder.
In totality, how many members are represented by the BPSU?
We have over 3,600 members.
3,600. So are that simply all government workers, or?
No, not at all. We represent the white-collar government workers. We represent the administrative and nursing staff at the hospital. That's a large bulk of our members. We also have those in the Quingers, BMA. We have members in Corporation of Hamilton. We have the airlines, American Airlines, US Airways. So our membership is both private and public. We have those in the telecommunications industry, Link Bermuda, Cable and Wireless. Link Bermuda is Cable and Wireless, but TBI and the Key Tech group of companies.
So what in this climate, do you feel that more persons who work in the private sector should be or want to be unionized?
I believe there is a want to be represented. I can't necessarily say unionized, but I would say that individuals recognize that their rights are more easily infringed upon as private sector workers. I believe they're still a fear of the unknown in terms of once they put their name forward to be a union members, what would happen to their jobs and things of that nature. So I believe that generally individuals want representation. I don't believe that those private sector members understand the union enough, whereas they've come to the union and got that information that's needed to make an informed decision in terms of where they want to go.
Because that what always surprises me or many in the community is that, let's say you look at some place like the banks, right, which collectively may employ over 1,000 Bermudians, but none of those persons are unionized. And we've seen over the last, I would say, 10 years, the banks have been systematically trimming the numbers. So the question always remains to me: if you have no protection, what do you have to lose by looking for protection? And explain to us how would, let's say, a bank employees become unionized?
The certification process is this. Once you get a third of the members wanting to become
1/3,
1/3, then you can file with the Labor Department. The Labor Department will then be responsible for putting a ballot towards all the employees who will fall within that bargaining unit. Once you get 51% of those employees, then those employees the organization will become unionized, and the union will become the sole bargaining agent for those employees.
Okay, in those situations, is it that the employees come to the union to say, look, we would like to need representation, or does the union, I wouldn't say campaign itself, but does the union put it out there to certain business sectors that were available to offer you representation?
I would openly admit that the union needs a better promotional strategy for itself in terms of getting out to those employees and letting those employees know what we represent and the value that it will bring for them to become unionized. We find times that small groups of employees within an organization may come to the union, but the process becomes difficult when they try to get their colleagues on board. It's also a very tricky process because under the labor legislation, the employees are not protected through the certification process. As a result, employers may use their attempt to become unionized to get rid of certain employees. So we try to do it very carefully, because our focus in this time is for everybody to remain employed, and we wouldn't want to be engaging in action that can, what I would say is, jeopardize individuals' employment.
But I think if you look, not you, but if the common person looks at the climate right now, where companies, whether they be local companies or international companies, even if they are making profits or record profits, companies are almost systematically using this term redundancy. Not that the employee didn't do anything wrong, or the employee is not working up to the standard, but one less employee is more money coming in. And it's almost becoming, I would say, almost like a disease in Bermuda now, where we've allowed ourselves to be globalized, or globalization, and in allowing that mentality to fester in management circles, is as if they can treat Bermudians the same way they will treat somebody in Hong Kong or somebody in London, like, hey, look, downsize, and that's it. And it's created a climate of, even in the private sector, it's created a climate, from what I can see and understand, of unsurety of, hey, is next month give me my last one? No matter how many degrees I'm got, this guy, the head office in in Dubai or wherever could say, look, we need to trim the Bermuda office. We need to move people away for tax reasons. So, there's almost no protection for people, right? So the question always, like I said, is maybe a tricky thing, but to me it's like a no-brainer. Why not look for protection or some level of protection?
Correct. In 2012, all other industrial sectors in the economy had reductions in employment with the exception of public administration.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being, public administration is heavily protected by the unions.
Okay.
What you find is, in this globalized environment, exactly what you said happens. In an effort for companies to become more efficient, they reduce their employment size or they outsource some of the functions that were done locally overseas. That is natural. That's happening in every country around the world. Mm-hmm. Some countries are on the benefiting side of the outsourcing, and some countries are on the reduction side of it. What we put in place here is, okay, understanding that you want your company to become more efficient, then how can we achieve that without reducing the number of employees? Increase productivity with the same amount of employees increases your efficiency.
All right. Well, when we come back, what we'll do is we'll talk about specifically, we get into the public sector situation here with the SAGE and this Public Service Reform Committee. All right. So we'll be back in a few minutes.